I'm good. Oh. Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome you to the Tuesday, May 14th, 2023 Board of Education meeting. We are calling the meeting to order, and it is 7:05 p.m. And if everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. A reading of meeting notice. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provision of the Act, the Verona Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published in the Star Ledger, posted with the Township of Verona and the Verona Education Association. Posting of this meeting setting forth the time, location, and agenda were posted at the Verona Board of Education office and on the Verona Public Schools District website. Copies of tonight's agenda and resolutions have been made available to the public via the Board of Education website. Mr. Cruz, if you could please call attendance.
Sure. Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Frizella,
Yes.
Mrs. Farrar,
Here.
Mrs. Prisco,
Here.
Mr. Boone.
Here.
We have
Thank
quorum.
you. Moving on to our agenda. I need a motion, please, to approve our meeting minutes from April 30th meeting.
Moved.
Motion by Mr. Waka,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Boone. Any discussion? Mr. Cruz, if you could please call roll.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Frizella, Mrs. Farrar,
Yes.
Mrs. Prisco,
Yes,
Mr. Boone.
Yes.
Motion carries.
thank you. Moving on, we are going on to our superintendent's report by Mrs. Diane DiGiuseppe.
Good evening. I wanted to report out on, we've been talking about the high impact tutoring grant. We did finally get notification that we're receiving $113,032. And we've been preparing for getting that started right away. And so that will begin on Monday with our third and fourth graders. We were limited to third and fourth grade with regard to that particular grant. Good news, U.S. News and World Report, America's Best High Schools came out in the end of April, and Verona High School ranked 1,494 in the nation, placing us number 71 in New Jersey high schools, which makes us number 44 among traditional non-magnet high schools. So what I mean by non-magnet high school is biotechnology high or Bergen Academy, et cetera. So any of those schools that you have to apply for and qualify for are considered magnet schools. So we're number 44 among traditional non-magnet high schools, and we're number 183 among New York, New Jersey metro area high schools. So congratulations to the Verona High School students and teachers. School performance reports came out, and they are located on our district website. Just to give the board some highlights from that. For our ELA proficiency and math proficiency, we met our target in all areas with the exception of one of our subgroups for students that are Hispanic, but we exceeded the standards in that subgroup for growth. So that's good news. We also met our goal for 5-year graduation rate. We met our goal in all other subgroups or met or exceeded standards, with the exception of one group of students with disabilities. Proficiency, again, we did not meet, but we met the growth standard. So very good news is we exceeded standards in ELA and math in ELA and math group growth among our English language learners. Yeah, so it's good news. Overall, our summative rating saw a slight decrease, the average summative rating across the district, but it's important to note that significant progress has been made by 2 of our schools. HBW has surged ahead, increasing by approximately 30 percentile points over last year. And Lanning has also shown commendable improvement by approximately 10 percentile points. one of the reasons we are struggling is that we still face the challenge of chronic absenteeism. So chronic absenteeism is hurting our percentile rating in the state. Um, Brookdale having the most significant chronic absenteeism with 17.7% of our students being chronically absent. The elementary chronic absenteeism rate across all 4 elementary schools is 13%. That's really high, by the way. Regular attendance, we know, is vital for academic success and future opportunities. Chronic absenteeism is a leading indicator of academic struggle and can hinder our students' achievements of their full potential. And for those of you that don't know how the state calculates chronic absenteeism, it's anything more than 10% of the school year. So students that are missing 10% of the school year are considered chronically absent. And so we are looking at our attendance policy, as you know, and we will be updating that for September to try to reduce that chronic absenteeism. We had the VFE Inspiring Excellence event. We used to be called the Teacher Toast, but VFE has expanded that to include non-certificated staff. And this year's honorees were Mrs. Barone, VHS special education teacher at HBW, Mrs. Thomas, Kathy Thomas, who is our speech and language therapist at both HBW and the high school, actually. At Lanning, Miss Elisa Frida, our media specialist, and she's at Lanning and Forest. From Forest, Mr. Salerno, who is also at Lanning as well, our music teacher. At Ben Brown, Heather Anderson, our reading interventionist. At Brookdale, Tamara Gisario, which was our elementary math coach. And district-wide was Mr. Jay Aiello, who is our maintenance. And congratulations to all of those staff members. The end of the year festivities are being planned or have begun, and that includes things like field days, fun nights, clap outs. With clap outs will be in June, National Honor Society inductions, end of the year field trips, and also toward the end of the school year, some move up days for our students that are transitioning from one school to the next. To give the board a staffing update, this time last year, my staffing update included 17 positions. We're much better off this year. We have 3 at the elementary level. We have an elementary special education teacher. This is a tenure track. And this is a new position to continue to offer inclusion. And that we are currently interviewing. We have a gifted and talented K-5 leave replacement, and we are actively interviewing. And we have an opening for a registered behavioral technician at Lanning, and we are also interviewing currently for that. At the middle school, we have a special education teacher, which is a leave replacement. We are accepting applications. Instrumental music, because Mr. Halpern is on the agenda tonight. He'll be moving into Mr. Morden's spot at the elementary level in instrumental music. So we are accepting applications for and also interviewing for instrumental music at the middle school. At the high school, we will need a special education English teacher. That is a tenure track position. We are currently interviewing. Special education, science, or math, depending on the pool. We can go either way because of our current staff. We are interviewing currently. We need a biology and AP environmental science teacher. We're currently interviewing. Spanish leave replacement. We're accepting applications for. A new position that's part-time student assistance coordinator, which used to be called substance abuse or SAC. And that's a part-time tenure track, and we are also accepting applications for that. We have an anticipated physical education teacher, and that's anticipated because I haven't gotten an official letter. I did get a verbal from a teacher today that they're retiring. So that is an anticipated leave. And that's my report for this evening.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments for superintendent report?
I think that,
I don't think your mic is on, Chris.
is it on? Good. So the first thing is about the point about absenteeism. I would just encourage the district to we're being told to tell people, hey, if you're sick, stay home. If you're not feeling well, stay home. And if parents are doing that, and then, now the state's kind of looking to punish schools for the QSAC and the IMP scores, it's up to us to determine how much of an impact we want to make or what kind of actions we want to take based on that. But I do think there's some solace to the idea of if your kid's sick, stay home, and let's not, as a district, overreact. Then as far as the U.S. News and World Report, like that's privately owned corporation that's looking to sell ad revenue. So yeah, I appreciate that they want to rate us something, but at the same time, like their rating means very, very little to me. So that's where we're at.
I have to tell you, ratings in general, because they're moving targets, are hard to follow. The worst one was New Jersey Monthly, and I'm glad they're no longer doing it.
Just one question to follow up on Mr. Walker on the absenteeism, the 13% in Verona. Two questions on that. Where does that stand nationally? As I do understand that this is a national problem. This isn't just a Verona problem. This isn't a New Jersey problem. So question one is, where do we stand relative to?
I don't know the national numbers, but the New Jersey average is around 17.6%. So we are at it at some of our elementary schools, above it in Brookdale, and below. Forest is the lowest in terms of elementary.
And the second part of that question, back to my point about this being a national problem, are we looking across the country, seeing what creative solutions as we're formulating our plans, and what might that look like?
One of the things that we don't do here, there's a couple of things that I think have led to a higher level of absenteeism in Verona. And I can answer your question a little bit. Let me just get into that. Our policy allows for an excused absence. The state doesn't recognize excused absences. They're absences. They're all absences. And what should happen is they should all be recorded as an unexcused absence. And if a student has a certain number, it should go before an attendance review committee, which is made up of teachers and administration. And the parent would supply doctor's notes, et cetera. And you'd say, okay, well, these 5 are excused, and that's the way it works. Our policy allows parents to have an excused absence if they just let the school know the child's going to be out. And so I think we've been sending the message that it's okay if you're taking your child on vacation, as long as you let us know that they're going to be out. And the other piece that we have not been following up on is our policy also asks us to send a letter after the 4th absence, after the 9th absence, to alert the parent that your child is, may experience significant learning loss by these absences. And so we're working on getting all of those letters in place for next year. At the middle school and high school, they go out automatically through Genesis. So if a student triggers at 9 days of absence of attendance, that letter is sent to a parent automatically. We don't use Genesis in the same way at the elementary schools, so that we're going to try to alert people to it. But there's a big movement nationally to work with parents with action plans, with attendance plans. So
And if I
you
could-
set up an individualized attendance plan with students that are chronically absent.
But if I could jump into, I think COVID was the impetus where the teachers did such a good job creating these really robust Google Classrooms, where before, if you missed a couple days, you were behind, and now if you miss a couple days, you're really not, because teachers did such a good job with that. And I think that kind of lends itself towards the idea of, like, if you're not feeling good, stay home, because you're still going to be able to get your education if you follow these great Google Classrooms. So I just don't want to see our district go too overboard when there might not really be a problem.
And I won't, but 17% is high for chronic absenteeism. So that is too high. So there's got to be a happy medium in there somewhere.
I think also, when we're thinking about rolling out a new policy for the 24-25 and kind of setting this new practice, I think it would be important that each building principal communicate this with parents, because it's such a common practice. I don't want parents to get a letter that their child has been absent, and then it can turn into a panic, especially if people aren't aware of it. So just kind of starting the year off communicating that this is
Yes.
going to be the new practice.
Well, and I'm going to send the policy and some letters out over the summer prior to the school year, and then have the principals follow up at each building.
Thank you. Moving on to our student representative report with Ms. Reese Shahab.
Yeah, so I just had one follow-up on the absenteeism. So I know at the high school level, at least, there are like state excused absences, like doctor's appointments, college visits, and those are reported differently than a regular. Is that a similar system that'll be rolled out to the elementary school, with the understanding of
I-
like age
That's a good
appropriateness?
question, Reese. And that should be district-wide. It is the practice at the high school. They are following the state guidelines. It should be across the board. The difference at the high school, and they're more meticulous about recording that, is because there's a seat time requirement.
Yeah.
There's a loss of credit at the high school level if you have a certain number of absences. So they're much more on top of it, and that's true of most high schools. But our high school has a really low chronic absenteeism. We're below 6,
Okay, yeah, thank you.
and the state average is around 11.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so for the student report, to start off, congratulations to Ellie Battersby and Patrick Lamont for receiving the Essex County Scholar Athlete Award that recognizes their contributions to the soccer and track teams, as well as their academic accomplishments. Patrick Lamont was also the salutatorian this year. While AP testing still continues at the high school level, which is why we're here due to the setup in the library, we will be finishing that this week and starting state testing for 9th and 11th grade students beginning on Monday. The Verona High School Arts Department will hold its annual Creative Arts Festival, which will include displays of artwork and musical performances on May 30th in both the old and new gyms at the high school. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Reese? As always, thank you, Reese. Moving on to our agenda, on to committee reports. There are no committee reports this evening. We have public comments on agenda action items only. If there's anything that is on the agenda that we are voting on and you would like to speak about it, please come to the podium and state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes. Seeing none, we are going to move on to discussion items. I have a few things that I would like to report out on that have happened in the past since our last meeting. So last Monday, May 6th, I attended the town council meeting, and the Verona Environmental Commission honored winners of this year's environmental poster contest. We had winners from each elementary school, and they came with their artwork and displayed their artwork. So Hunter Hukas for Bike in the Future, Jamie Hang of Lanning Avenue won for Plastic Eliminator, Leo LaRosa of Forest Avenue won for Stop Air Pollution, and Erin Fricky won for FN Brown for Keep the Galaxy Clean. There was because of so many students that submitted a poster from FN Brown, the Environmental Commission gave an honorable mention to 2 students, Catherine Evans for Pick Up What People Put Down, and Michael Pizarro for Recycle. So congratulations to those students. Also, while I was at that meeting, there was the developer from Conifer for the Verona Flats project, which is the project, I'm sure everyone has seen it, going over to the community center. It's directly across the street, the affordable housing project. And according to Sean Carpenter, who is the senior vice president of the development team, he mentioned that people who have requested on the interest list to receive an application when it comes available, possibly in the beginning of June. So if you know anyone that has put out an interest, please let them know to look for the application. Applications will be looked at on a first come, first served basis. However, he said that an incomplete application will put you back at the bottom of the list. Mr. Carpenter made mention that he did not feel that many students would be coming out of that complex. Unfortunately, after his presentation, he left and he wasn't there to answer questions. But I did get up and speak during public comment for the Board of Education, on behalf of the Board of Education. I expressed my concerns and said that I disagreed with his statement. The fact that there are 26 3-bedroom units, 52 2-bedroom units could be worrisome for our school district. I asked again to this council for a joint meeting with us board to work with us. Should the amount of students come from that development push our numbers between the general and special education, we can have spacing issues and funding issues. So if you're interested, I did put it out there to the council to try and, meet with us and help us out down the road. Mrs. Reese mentioned our student athletes, so I will not repeat that. I believe the last meeting, Ms. Di Giuseppe, you did mention, but I'm going to mention it again, and her parents are in the audience. But it's such a wonderful honor to mention it again, to congratulate to our senior, Faith Brawley. She was nominated for the Paper Mill Playhouse Rising Star Award. The ceremony for that will take place at the Paper Mill Playhouse on June 11th. And Faith will be attending Montclair State University and majoring in film and television. So congratulations again to her, very deserving. On May 3rd, we attended the VFI event. Again, congratulations to all the staff and for VFI for the work that you do for the foundation. Also, Ian Zalewski came in first in the Outdoor Ridge Twilight Meet for the 1600. And Ian beat the previous school record for the distance set back in 2010. So congratulations to Ian. He will be going to Lehigh University and continuing cross-country and track and field. So that's a big accomplishment. Also, on Thursday, May 9th, our board attended the Essex County, New Jersey School Board's end of the year meeting. And I would like to congratulate our board for being recognized as a certified board. This is the first time that the Verona Board of Education has received this award. Therefore, this is definitely something that we should be proud of. I would also like the past board member and president, Lisa Freshy, for setting this goal, and that I made sure that we followed through with this training and professional development from all our board members, past and present. Congratulations and thanks again. And Reese, thank you so much for attending with us. The annual rivalry baseball game between Verona and Cedar Grove High School was held this past Saturday at Yogi Berra Stadium. The Minnetonka Angels Foundation threw out the ceremonial first pitch and the 10U Barnstormers players were recognized for being the future Hillbilly baseball stars. Verona was down, but came back to beat Cedar Grove 7-4. So congratulations to the team and the coaches. Spring sports have or will be having their senior days. If my schedule allows, I do try to attend as many of them as possible. Yesterday, VHS girls softball had a great win, 5-4 over Nutley for their senior day. Congratulations to all our seniors and their families. It's a very bittersweet time. And lastly, I was invited to attend the Troop 2 Eagle Court of Honor ceremony this past Saturday, which was such a wonderful event. I would like to congratulate Christopher Caldera and Luca Tedesco, our two VHS seniors that completed their journey to become an Eagle Scout. This achievement is not easy, and to receive this, I would like to ask our board if we can invite them to a future meeting so we can honor them before they head off to college. Again, congratulations to them, and that is all I have to report on. If anyone has any questions or comments.
I have actually two questions, Mrs. Prisco. And first of all, before I do that, I do want to also, as a member of the scouting community here in Verona, I appreciate you congratulating those two young men. I saw firsthand how hard they worked, and I am extremely proud of them. I was at a graduation, and sorry I could not see it myself. Two questions from your attendance at the town council meeting. And this is, and maybe I am out of order here and asking how we present this, but the concerns over the numbers of the student population. Can we maybe ask Mr. Cruz to state how we are factoring our expectations for those numbers? I understand last year, of course, we had a presentation from the state, just so that we can get on record here what numbers we're looking at and what we see as our expectations. And as she's doing that, the second question, I did watch from afar the on a Zoom on the town council, and there was a discussion about the solar presentation. And did we see, or do we see opportunities for the Verona Board of Education to work in a partnership with the town on any future development with respect to renewable energy projects.
I think with the solar, we'll have to look into that because we did definitely do a report on that a couple years back onto what our buildings could support as the solar, right,
Yes. So,
Mr. Cruz?
we did have a report a few years back regarding solar, especially after the referendum, all the roofing upgrades that were done. Recently, we did a energy audit, and in that report as well, through the New Jersey, what is it called? Basically the clean energy group. So they basically provided this free audit that I think they had a cost of over $50,000, and we qualified for it. They came in, they provided a thorough assessment. In that report, there is a significant savings with renewable energy with solar, specifically here at the high school, since the high school has a lot more, basically square footage on the roof, and then also the exposure to the sun. Some of our other schools, they don't, there's some shade and other factors that might play a factor in that renewable energy in those locations. But the next step is really being able to work with the township and seeing if the town is actually going that route and maybe do like a joint RFP to be able to go out and get a request for proposal. But that'll be the next phase is going out on an RFP and maybe maximizing that with the township, the shared service agreement.
Thank you.
So last year we had a demographic study done specifically to address the new housing. And Dr. Grip, who is has his doctorate in demographics and has been doing this for 20 years, predicted that we could have about 102 or more students from that particular housing project come into the schools. I think the concern is the timing of the opening. First move-in is slated to be in August, so it's obviously after the district has already budgeted for next year. Second move-in, the second opening, I think, or the second phase is December. So that's once the school year has already started. And we have talked about this before. We are really at capacity at 3 of our 4 elementaries. We're at capacity at HBW, and we're near capacity at this school.
And not to interrupt, but
Your-
I think they,
Put your
I
mic,
was listening.
is your
to the
mic on?
meeting- Oh, am I not on? Says I'm on. Yeah, okay. I listened to the meeting, I couldn't attend, but he said that the first move-in date was now September, which brings it's a whole new factor of issues, because we won't even be able to really do a whole lot. I couldn't find back in, I don't know, August, September, after Dr. Grip came with his demographic report, I did look at the records and the documents surrounding the development. And I think at the time I said I thought his numbers were low based on what the requirements were in the documents. I still think his numbers are low. Not his numbers, and I believe that the gentleman from, I can't remember his name, that spoke, he was saying like 1, maybe 2 kids out of a 3-bedroom. I think just looking at the documents alone, there has to be a person in each bedroom. And if you're going to go into a 3-bedroom, it's not going to be 3 adults. It's going to be a family. Potentially you could have an adult, an older relative, an adult disabled child. There are other ways you can get adults, but I don't think that we're going to be seeing a significant number of, 3 bedrooms with 3 adults in it. I think there will be children, whether they are school age children. They could be 2, 3 years old, which is school age for a lot of kids, or not. I think it is something that we are facing, that the council has not been willing to even have a sit-down meeting with us to talk about. I mean, we're not going there right now asking for millions of dollars. I know some towns around us have received money from their pilots. We have received none. So I think just having a meeting to talk about how we can work together to not only find appropriate classrooms for students that could potentially come, but to welcome these new members of our community. These are going to be our friends and neighbors and people that we play soccer, our kids play soccer with, that we see at the pool. So, I would like to try to make their welcome to Verona as nice as it was when I moved in 16 years ago, 17 years ago. But thank you, Ms. Prisco, for attending. I do appreciate
And
that.
Jorge, we gotta be able to, hit the ground running when these kids come, because if they come in September or early October, that October 15th deadline for the state aid, that could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I trust that you're gonna do this, but if you could really make sure that you're ready, once these kids come, that register them and get them on rolls and get us to submit them by October 15th, that's huge. Thank you.
One of our obstacles, we've spoken about this, is not really knowing the age of students who are coming in. So we can assume that students are coming, but we don't know whether they're going to be mostly elementary, middle, or high school. I'm wondering also in, the idea of collaborating in some way with the town, if through the application process or once that we will get that at least, okay.
And to the town's point,
We made that request. I don't know that.
we'll get it
Yeah.
right. Mr. Kevin O'Sullivan had reached out to me and did suggest that, if we wanted him to speak with you, Diane, or Jorge, he would be willing to. But hopefully we could just, like you said, we can get a meeting together or just sit down and come up with ideas.
And I'm sorry, Ms. Prisco, wasn't there a certain percent, 20%, 25% that he said they thought were coming from Verona? A certain,
He
I don't know
mentioned
where-
there was a good percentage that
Right.
could be coming from Verona, which would be great because the kids are already
Well,
accounted
that's right,
for,
and that, it would be nice if we were able to,
but they haven't even put out the applications
Right.
yet, so we can't,
register people
that's
on the
just
wait
the,
list.
the wait list assumption, so. Thank you. Anyone else have anything for discussion items? Moving on, we have any correspond, oh,
Have one more thing. Pam, Ms. Prisco congratulated all of us for our board awards. Ms. Prisco
Oh.
got her award for Master Certified
leader.
Leader and Master Board Member. So she got a double award at that
Thank you.
Essex County. And Mr. Walker and Mrs.
Thank you, thank you.
Ferreira got their new board member awards.
Don't pat myself on the back, thank you. Moving on to our resolutions, I would like to start off with our personnel resolutions. I need a motion to approve resolutions. Where were we? Hold on a second. There's a lot of them. A1 to A9,
So
please.
moved.
Motion by Mr. Waka.
Before we proceed, can I just ask one
Of
question
course.
that on? Oh,
I second
Yeah.
it.
sorry.
Second by
Did-
Mrs. Brazella. Any
Apologies.
questions?
Apologies.
No problem.
Sorry, Mrs. Prisco. On A1.4, can somebody take me through the, why we are abolishing that position?
I can do that. It's not something we wanted to abolish. Obviously, having a math coach or a math interventionist supports our students. Unfortunately, this position was paid for with ESSER funds, and that happened prior to my starting here. Those funds went away. They had an endpoint, and it's between that position and some of our increased enrollments, increased kindergarten numbers, we just couldn't sustain it. So it's our one reduction in force for this year. And that the person that was in this position will go back into a teaching position. So we're not losing a staff member, but we are losing a position. But if we can put a position like that back, we are looking at doing that. But everyone, we've talked about our budget woes for a long time. It's very difficult, but that's not a position we relished reducing. We just don't really have a lot of opportunities.
Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Cruz, if you could please call roll.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Frizella,
Yes.
Mrs. Farrar.
Gonna recuse myself
Sure.
from A5. And then, yeah, and then I vote yes to everything else.
Mrs. Prisco,
Yes,
Mr. Boone.
Yes.
Motion carries.
thank you. Moving on to our education resolutions, I need a motion, please, to approve resolutions B1 through B8. Motion by
So moved.
Mrs. Brazella,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Waka. Are there any discussions? Mr. Cruz, if you could please call roll.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Brazella,
Yes.
Mrs. Farrar,
Yes.
Mrs. Prisco,
Yes,
Mr. Boone.
Yes.
Motion carries.
thank you. Moving on, there are no athletics or co-curricular, no facilities, so we're moving on to finance. I need a motion to approve our finance resolutions E1 to E7.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Boone,
I'll second.
second by Mrs. Ferrara. Any discussion? Mr. Cruz, if you could please call roll.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Brazella,
Yes.
Mrs. Farrar,
Yes.
Mrs. Prisco,
Yes,
Mr. Boone.
Yes.
Motion carries.
thank you. And then moving on to governance and policy, I need a motion, I'm sorry, to approve resolutions F1 through F2. Motion by Mr. Waka, seconded by
I'll second.
Mrs. Pereira. Are there any discussions? Mr. Cruz, if you could please call roll.
Mr. Walker,
Yeah.
Mrs. Brazella, Mrs. Farrar,
Yes.
Mrs. Prisco,
Yes,
Mr. Boone.
Yes.
Motion carries.
thank you. Moving on to our agenda. We are going into public comments on anything. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on any matter, please approach the podium. Once recognized, clearly state your first and last name for the record. You will have 3 minutes to address the board. There will be no cross dialogue during this public portion. If there is a question that can be answered, only the superintendent, board attorney, or board president will respond, and it will be at the end of all comments. You will be granted 1 time to speak, and there is a total of 1 hour for public participation. Again, please note, there will be no back and forth, and we request that you remain respectful. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Petruzzi. I live at 165 Forest Avenue. Both of my girls have been through or going through Verona Public Schools right now. I'm proud to say my daughter Abby is at the College of Charleston right now, and she received the president's, she was on the president's list. So I'm very proud of what the experience she got in Verona under your administration. Over the past year, our little town has had some bad press and tragedy strike it. Some warranted, some not. I'm here tonight because a few weeks ago, I watched the Board of Ed meeting at home, and I was shocked at the turn of events that took place about the civil case involving the F.N. Brown teacher, administrator, and students. I've been an elementary teacher in Glen Ridge for over 20 years. I would say that I am very knowledgeable of children at this age level, as well as elementary teachers and how an elementary school runs. When I read the first article, because there are 2 now, I questioned many things about it. I'd like to touch upon a few of those things from a teacher's perspective. First, anyone who has worked in an elementary school or even volunteered in one knows that children at this age are experts at 2 things, reporting and tattletaling. I learned that F.N. Brown's bathrooms are set up very much like ours, boys on one side of the hallway and girls on the other. From last month's Board of Ed meeting, I also learned that FN uses a similar stop-go system that we use for our bathroom monitoring. I know this is an antiquated system, was put forth under scrutiny by some, but this is where having an understanding of the working of an elementary school might have given people a better understanding of why we use this visual aid. Young children are very visual learners, and they need these visual tools to help them keep track of things. In this case, for the number of people allowed in a bathroom at one time. That being said, we all know that kids don't always follow the rules. So it is likely that another child would walk into the bathroom, even if the sign was turned to red. And it is also even more likely that another child that would be in the bathroom would come screaming out and tell the first teacher that they saw that a boy was in the girls' bathroom. Next, to read that the teacher and principal turned a blind eye to the child when she seemed in distress, again, clearly just couldn't have happened in my perspective as a teacher for over 20 years. Teachers don't go into this job for the money. We go into this job because we love children. When they hurt, we hurt. These little human beings become part of our family for the 180 days. And to think that any teacher would neglect a cry for help like this is just very insulting to anyone in the educational profession. There is one thing that I know for sure. This whole case is upsetting on both parts. I completely understand that, and everybody here. I just ask that our community listen and support each other. I will end with what I tell my students when they have a disagreement. There's his side, there's her side, and somewhere in the middle lies the truth. It is not our job to find out the truth. It is our job to listen to both parties. Let's all hope and pray that truth will prevail, and these children and teacher who has been affected and administrator will get the help that they will need to get them through this healing process. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment.
Hi, my name's Joy Edgar. I live on Durrell Street. So since you guys aren't going to be answering questions until I finish my comments, I hope you guys are able to write my questions down quickly and then provide answers. Okay, great. So the following are statements and concerns from at least 50 Verona parents regarding the lack of safety in Verona Public Schools, negligence of the Verona Public School staff, and the Board of Education. Question one, well, issue one. Since it is required by law that staff immediately report any incident such as described in the pending litigation, have all school staff, one, received recent training on child abuse and sexual assault, and two, received notice of the legal requirement that they shall immediately report an allegation when received? That's question one, okay? Then I want to know, who does the staff training for this? Who are they told to report this kind of allegation to? Who is the school staff told to report this allegation to? Who is told for the school staff to report this to? Are they told to report it to the principal? Are they told to report it to their union member? Who? And is there a public record where these reports are kept? And if so, are those accessible by the parents? Last one. Are you guys familiar with school resource officers? I hope so. Why is Verona one of 3 school districts in Essex County that does not have one? Ready for your answers. Ready for the answers.
They will be answered at the end of everyone's public comment.
So
At the end.
do you guys want a copy of this? Or you guys wrote everything down and you know what exactly I asked? Okay, great. I'll be expecting answers for everyone. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Hi, everyone. Mary Lou Menville, Dodd Terrace.
I gotta reset the timer.
So I'm going to be following up on what Joy had to say here. We're also representing about 50 Verona parents that are concerned about.
Repeat your name again, please.
Mary Lou Menville, 9 Dodd Terrace. Again, we're going to be representing those 50 parents that we spoke about earlier, so this is a continuation.
Okay.
Looking to see, what is the board or administration's rationale for not having a staff hallway monitor? I understand that they currently have them at VHS and at HBW, but not at the elementary schools. Also, do you guys know what District Policy 5751 is? And if so, can you explain it to us? Because we understand that this recognizes Title IX and that there should be a coordinator enlisted. Has there ever been a Title IX coordinator enlisted for any event at FMB or at any elementary school in the district? If not, how can the school engage and utilize this resource better, since we just recently learned about them? This one's for the superintendent. You mentioned a school safety team. What is the purpose of the team? Who is on it? How are they selected? Can a parent request to join, and how often do they meet? Are there meeting minutes that we can look at? What do they discuss? And if we have concerns, can we bring those concerns to this quote unquote safety team? And then what is the policy and procedure on a safe return to school for a bullying case or sexual harassment case member? Got all those?
That it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Haley Melander. I'm also continuing on representing 50 parents who with their concerns and questions. I do believe that Verona Public Schools and the Board of Ed can do better. These are some requests for demanding better policies at school. As parents, we need to be confident that any and all such incidents as that at issue shall be handled in a uniform and professional manner, consistent with legal requirements and not left up to the discretion of any one individual teacher who may be confronted with it. 1, we demand hall monitors and or bathroom monitors. 2, we demand cameras in staircases. 3, we demand clear camera footage on the playground.
Jessica Salas. I'm on 36 Derwent Avenue. I'm continuing where she left off. Number 4, we demand more parent representatives join the safety committee, to better understand what coverage is actually provided by the cameras and what are the blind spots. Number 5, we demand a dedicated in-house school counselor every day and/or therapist for a safe space for students to go to. Counselors can take social worker interns. Number 6, we demand proactive district-wide communication, not reactive. There has been a lack of timely communication when events happen. For example, it was not communicated that a man trespassed multiple times at HBW Middle School. The second and third time could have been prevented if there was communication from the school about not holding doors open for people. And regarding the F. and Brown case, only the second grade class parents were initially notified. Parents of all grades should have been notified and updated regarding the status of the case. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Arzu Kaufman, Hemlock Drive. I'm here making a statement on behalf of myself, but I know that there's many parents who agree with what I'm about to say. So please, I hope you listen closely. Please don't stand behind your lawyers and duck and say, this will pass. Please do better. Please don't say, we'll figure it out later. Please, I'm begging you, do better. Please don't say, this will all go away. Just give it time. These people will disappear. Please do better. Please be honest with us. Please be more transparent with us. Right now, we feel that we cannot trust you. And with all my heart, I want to trust every single person sitting over there, but I can't. As a parent, I do not trust this board. I'm just telling you how I feel. I would like to work with you so that we gain that trust back for the sake of all of our kids. Please do better, because right now there's not much trust. And that lack of trust is caused by the vague statements you send to parents in your communications, the lack of information you share with parents, the way your sentences are phrased. Reread them, please. It shows that information is being kept from parents. Please, I'm begging you, don't use legalese to make everybody think everything is okay. It is not. I want to trust every single one of you, but right now I can't. Please show us with your actions, not just words that we should trust you. Please do that for the sake of all of our children. None of our lives will ever, ever be the same again. Not yours, not one person in this room. Their life will never be the same because of the situation Verona has encountered. Please help us to do better. And one thing I am begging you, you all state that you cannot talk about the litigation. I completely understand that. But can you also please then tell the defendants in the litigation not to speak either? Please? Even if it's out of just the mere respect of the victim's family, please tell the defendants not to go around talking to teachers in all different schools that, oh, this will pass, this will be good.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Please do better.
Thank you.
My life won't change. You up? There you go. Paul Petrangeli. Oh, you want to start the timer
Go ahead.
and go? Okay, Paul Petrangeli, 9 Martin Road, Verona. I'd like to reiterate basically everything the very first lady spoke of. She was very knowledgeable and she spoke sense. 50 people here are upset. Now there's 14,000 people in Verona, so that's 0.003%. Just so we know that facts. I believe you guys have been doing a great job. There are some things, yes, everybody gets upset at, and this one thing, all the gripes that have happened over the years are all going to come out. But you know what? You were voted in by these townspeople, and these townspeople support you. More than 0.003% support you. That's why you were voted in. There's so much to say, and basically let the whole issues play out. And the victim's family, let's also remember that the defendants also is a victim in this case right now, because there's no answer or anything has played out yet. So basically, you just got to calm down. You got to calm down and let the things go and hide behind your legal issues. You need to hide behind your legal ease, because you know what? You're going to have a lawsuit every single day if you don't hide behind your legal ease. That's just common sense. So I think you guys have been doing a great job. Ms. Giuseppe, I'll extend your contract anytime. Vote for a raise for you people. You've been doing awesome. And let's remember, this is a 6 and 7-year-old boy we're talking about, and girl, but let's remember that. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Good evening. My name's Eddie Koenigsfest. I'm the proud parent of a current 3rd grader and incoming kindergartner at FN Brown Elementary School. I've been a public school teacher for the last 17 years and have been coaching youth sports for the last 25. I would first like to thank the Verona Superintendent, Board of Education, principals, teachers, and support staff at all of the public schools here in Verona. The school system was the very reason my wife and I decided to move to Verona. My family appreciates all the hard work, time, dedication that goes into what you do every day. I am sorry that your years of educational service and knowledge are being called into question. If you are not happy with the public school system, you have the option of going to private education. This is your choice. However, it seems that there are a bunch of people, 50, even though there's not 50 in this room, in that group, that would rather disgrace the great name of our Verona schools and support unfounded allegations with no evidence than make a move elsewhere. We're also hearing horrendous statements about a young boy. What if that were your son? This has to stop immediately. This is damaging to all of us. Our schools are safe. Our staff is dedicated. Let's stop calling a child names. And if you don't feel safe, close your mouth and go somewhere else. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comment.
Eddie, before you go, did you go to 2nd grade with me? Heck yeah, that's right.
Oh my God.
Well, hello, Board of Education members. My name is Brandon Hines. I want to start by saying to you guys and to the community that I have no knowledge of the issue that you guys are talking about. I'm not from this community. I live in South Jersey myself. So crystal clear, whatever I'm about to say has absolutely no bearing on the issues that you guys are dealing with in this community. So I'm sorry for whatever it is that you guys are dealing with. Clearly, it's a highly stressful situation. So I wish you guys the best otherwise. To that end, I would like to thank the Verona School District because long story short, I was a national spokesperson for the American Heart Association for maybe 15 years. I came to your school district in 2017 and 2018 to speak here to your students. And it was the best experience that I've had in my life speaking to students. Spoken in 200 public schools in New Jersey in my life, and speaking here was the best. I worked with a woman named Andrea Jordan over at HB Whitehorn. A stud. I mean, absolutely stellar employee and stellar administrator, stellar educator. I'm coming back now because in 2018, when I graduated high school, I actually moved to Manhattan and I continued public speaking there, only because of an opportunity that you guys gave to me then. One of the students' parents in the crowd at that time when I spoke here happened to own the second largest speaking company in the world. And he hooked me up. I lived in New York. I did my thing. I've been doing a lot of speaking in public schools since then. But I came home during COVID to launch a nonprofit. So now I do speaking in public schools on a nonprofit basis. I wanted to reach out to you guys and let you know that we are small. We're still in infancy, but I would be more than happy to do a speaking engagement for you guys, return the favor. The first time I spoke here was for the American Heart Association, but you guys actually invited me back at the end of the year to do another speaking engagement. And that was the first paid speaking engagement in my life. I would be more than happy to come back and do it, obviously pro bono, guys, like, just looking to give something back. My favorite thing in the world to do is to speak, and I keep you guys in mind all the time. I will never forget that first time I spoke here. And long story short, somebody in the crowd, one of your educators, actually had a heat stroke during that engagement. Somebody passed out in the back of the room. Paramedics came. It was an entire chaotic situation, but we got the situation under control, and it ended up being a great experience. All the students were incredibly, the word I'm looking for is cooperative, I should say. They were all very friendly, very sweet people. And my essential question to you guys is, if there is any opportunity, if you guys are looking, having an event at the end of the year, please allow us to come back and return that favor to you. I really would appreciate it.
Just
Thank you guys.
do me a favor, shoot me an email.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Your last
Diane
name?
Di Giuseppe.
Giuseppe, I appreciate
You
you.
can find me on the superintendent's page.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate you guys. Have a great evening.
Thank you
much.
so much for coming out.
And last
Really.
comment, I will say,
Thank you.
again, I have no credibility to speak on this issue, but whatever it is that you guys are dealing with, I really do. I'm young, but I will say that listening to both sides is going to be the only way to get out of this. In a sense, it's constructive. I mean, it's simply that simple. That is the wisdom that's going to get you guys where you need to go, right? I know we all know that, but trying to keep a cool head. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming here.
Hi there. I'm Stacy Cardreyer. We live on Cumberland. We have a son at FN Brown in third grade. First, I would like to thank our superintendent, Board of Ed, our principals, our teachers, and our staff for working tirelessly on behalf of our students. Education can be a challenging line of work, but you do it because you care about children. I think we can all agree that the safety and well-being of our kids is our top priority. I am also a nurse and have been a nurse for almost 25 years, so I understand some of what you guys are going through. With that being said, we support the staff at FN Brown and believe that they have always had our children's best interest at heart and acted in accordance with the policies and procedures put in place in regards to reporting of abuse or assault. We also support, value, and believe in the ongoing process of revamping security measures in the district. The reality is our world is not as safe as it used to be. And I think we can all agree that our main priority is to keep our children safe as we all care about their well-being.
Thank you very much for your comment.
Hi, my name is Justine Sambrino. I live in Laurel Court. I have a son in the third grade at FN Brown, and I have a daughter entering kindergarten at FN Brown in the fall. To pick up where Stacy left off, I share her sentiments. There were a lot of statements made at the last Board of Education meeting that we all find very concerning. The overwhelming reaction to the article and complaints against the school has resulted in misinformation which lacks logic and only aims to breed fear. Based on this, we have a few concerns as well. One, we are concerned that this allegation is being presented as fact. Investigations were conducted and were unfounded. An email sent to second grade parents on April 17th, which I received, stated, quote, currently, neither law enforcement or child protective authorities have made any findings related to the allegations, end quote. If parents are not satisfied with these investigation results, parties should take that up with the investigative authorities and should not be lashing out at the district. Two, and probably most importantly, along with our first concern, we are concerned that these allegations have now victimized another child because the accused child was named via initials in the lawsuit. The child is now being publicly stigmatized, and we would like to know what is being done to protect the physical and mental well-being of this child. As an educator for the last 13 years, I find that to be the most significant thing, is making sure that both of the children that are unfortunately tethered to this tragic event are being protected. Both of these children.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, my name is Kristen Koningsfest. I'm on Brookside Terrace. I also have a third grade son at FM Brown, and my daughter will be in kindergarten in September. In addition, I've been a school psychologist in the public schools for the last 15 years. Piggybacking off of Stacy and Justine, we also have some demands. Number one, we demand that the language being used publicly to describe a 7-year-old boy stop. It is harmful and it is inaccurate. Painting a picture of a molester roaming around the school to create a culture of fear is not only misplaced, but it is absolutely appalling. It is not even proper terminology to label a child a molester or a predator, and these words have been used. It is harmful to everyone. We should stop using them in this public forum out of respect for all the families involved. Last board meeting, there was talk of resignations of staff at FM Brown. Our second demand is that there are no resignations of FM Brown staff at this time. The legal proceedings need to take place before any staff change would be implemented. As educators, we understand the importance of having staff that is familiar with our school buildings and our students. This is always the safer option. I'm not sure why we would want a revolving door of substitutes. To the board, to the staff, we applaud your strength in continuing to run our schools with pride, and we recognize that this unfortunate situation is not easy to navigate. Moving forward, we appreciate transparency and willingness to ascertain the truth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ben Jaffe. I live on Valley View Road. I have 2 kids at FN Brown, a son in 3rd grade and a daughter in kindergarten. So one of the things I've been thinking about is incentives. What incentive does this board have to cover up any type of impropriety at our school? The answer is none. These people are not paid for this job. They don't have financial incentives to do this job. They are here to protect and serve this community, and that's what they're doing. Last board meeting, when they said, we support the superintendent, we still support the superintendent, that should tell everyone in this room a lot. It should say that they, who are in the know and have more information than the rest of us, know that maybe things are not as they were in that allegation. And speaking of allegations, that's exactly what it is. The bar for a civil lawsuit, for filing a civil lawsuit, is obscenely low. Anybody can put anything in there. There doesn't have to be, this is not going through a prosecutor. This is not going through anyone. Anyone can write anything on a piece of paper and file a lawsuit. So in that vein, there is one thing that I really am going to ask, and that is, do not settle this case, okay? This community needs to heal. All the facts need to come out. And I hope that everyone on all sides of this can agree, don't settle this case. I'm really hoping that there's not going to be a letter that says nobody admits fault to anything. The facts need to come out for this community to heal. And if they don't, it's going to be very, very hard for it to heal. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Jillian Armenti. I have 4 kids in the FM Brown District of Verona, ages 3 to 10. Superintendent Giuseppe, you said that this happened a long time ago in your last meeting when you were referring to the time since it happened and time to communicate to our community. And I find that a long enough time has passed to provide a communication to this community and resources to this community on education of potential sexual abuse. While this is an allegation, there is a duty of this school district under Erin's law to provide students and staff and parents education regarding the potential of sexual abuse and give preventive measures to prevent it. So while this is an allegation, anything could happen any day to any one of our children. Child on child sexual abuse is real. I will not call them an abuser. They do not, like the other commenter said, they are a child, but simply child on child sexual abuse to another child can occur. And we have a duty, since it's been brought to light, whether it's true or not, to make sure no potential child in the future is a victim in that way. Additionally, as mentioned before, and I should have said this at the start, both the boy and the girl in this situation are victims, and we should continue to refer to them as victims. However, I know you said no one is paid in this matter, but our board lawyer is paid, and he is here as a paid person to protect everyone here. So board lawyer, when you say no one is more frustrated than I, bogus. We are more frustrated than you. And I understand you needed to protect the identity of children, but I have children too that need to be protected. So giving a letter to the 2nd grade parents alone is unacceptable. My children walk through that door every day. Every day. The fact that I didn't know for 8 months that this was going on or potentially going on is so unsettling. It's so unsettling. Coincidentally, in March of 2023, my sister-in-law and brother, husband, sent emails to Superintendent Giuseppe requesting greater security in schools because of the Nashville shooting. We got no reply. That is unacceptable. Even a vague, blanketed reply would have been better than silence. Silence is unacceptable. I know a teacher said kids tattle, but kids also might be silent. We don't know. And I think that's what's created so much unease in this community. And I know there's been a lot of claps for some sides of this story, and I'm not taking sides. I hate to use the word sides. But this is so incredibly unsettling, and your silence has broken my heart. Yes, I am unhappy that there was no recommendations by the investigating bodies because by your own admission, Superintendent, the records were not accurate. I have audio clip of you saying that the written records were difficult for the little kids to do. So the fact that there was no recommendation from both Verona detectives and also the investigatory child protective services, whatever they're called now, is unacceptable to me. And you should have also thought that's unacceptable, but there's no recommendation.
Thank you. The time's up. Thank you.
Laura Stiligato. Um, I am a clinical social worker and I've worked my entire career as a psychotherapist. I've spent my career working with victims of sexual violence. I've had extensive training and continue to train on a yearly basis in trauma. I say this all because in my training, in my work, as well as my experience, unfortunately, sexual abuse statistically is happening everywhere, in every town, in every school. The fact that there are people who just outright deny that this could even happen in our community is part of the problem. Regardless of what anyone believes about who the perpetrator may be, I agree they are both victims. But that is a separate issue, and we all need to start by believing a little girl who was so severely hurt in our town. With that being said, I do think that our teachers are amazing and for the most part love and care for our children. However, these allegations have brought to light a lot of areas that are lacking in terms of safety overall in our district. If anything's going to come from this, it should at the very least be that you actually hear our concerns and make improvements. What do you have to lose by increasing safety and security measures? As our elected officials and civil servants, it's your duty to hear our concerns and help us understand the district policies and practices. I've read and reread many of the district policies, and I have a very hard time making sense of them. And I cannot find specific answers to my questions in the policies. So some of my questions for you tonight, and to save time, I will email the rest of my questions. I would like to know how much of the current and the next year's budget is being allocated to increase safety measures. How do you plan to be more proactive and honest in your communication with the community? There is a clear necessity for hall monitors and/or bathroom monitors in all schools for all types of safety issues. Is this being considered, and if not, why? I am aware that there's been safety committees formed in the schools that are supposed to be, I believe, comprised of school staff and parent representatives. How many parent representatives are on each school committee and how are they chosen? How many teachers are on each committee? I urge you to include several parents representing various grades and genders, as well as teachers that represent various grades, as our teachers have a lot of fantastic information and will be aware of logistical issues that may be relevant to specific grade levels or classroom location concerns. My final question for you right now is in regards to the communication protocol. The Board of Ed website has the communication protocol, which indicates the last line of communication for all matters is the Board of Education. My concern is that the community's questions and concerns seem to just hit a dead end. What's the next step? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Steve Cruz, Cypress Ave. First, I'd like to say thank you to Ms. Prisco for going to the town council meeting. I think that the town overall has not paid attention what has happened with the affordable housing. There's 89 or 88 units, I believe. I followed this through the entire time. So we do have a lot of issues in town, but this is one of our bigger issues. When the builder presented this to the township and our township council sat there and understood and agreed that the guy said, oh, we have 89 units. We're allocating 1.5 parking spaces per unit because it's affordable housing. Most of them use public transportation. That alone is an issue because our call volume is going to skyrocket, right? Is everybody willing? 28-year retired police officer. I want more officers, but is the township willing to pay for that? I think that it's going to have to unfortunately fall in the hands of the Board of Ed to change something with the dynamics of security, as I've spoken about before, because we're not going to be able to handle the call volume. Mr. Giuseppe has mentioned that, support North Caldwell mutual aid. In reality, I don't think we're going to be able to handle that call volume. When those units go up, just the parking situation alone is going to take away from the officer, 2 officers, or a boss responding to a school for a God forbid emergency. So, like I said, thank you for attending that. I think it's important. I think they're just looking to the side of it and not understanding what the Board of Ed or yourself brought to the table that night. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to get up and speak? Okay, seeing none, we are going to close public comment. And get some answers.
Organize. So there were a couple questions about the school safety team. The actual statute says a school safety team shall consist of the principal or his or her designee, who, if possible, shall be a senior administrator in the school. And following the appointee of the principal, a teacher in the school anti-bullying specialist, a parent of a student in the school, and other members to be determined by the principal. Each of our schools have different sized school safety teams and different numbers of teachers and parents on it. For the elementary school, Ms. Ramirez is the anti-bullying specialist, and she sits on all of them. With regard to training, teachers receive annual training in reporting sexual abuse, any kind of abuse. They report that to the building principal. Dr. Miller, Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, is in charge of monitoring and making sure that our teachers are annually trained in a variety of things, not just that one item that we're talking about. So they receive annual training in HIB, in uh, every 5 years in suicide prevention. There's a laundry list of things that we're required to train on each year, and he maintains the record of who receives that training and who doesn't. And he is generally on getting those people trained. They start late in the year, etc. Public records of reporting is not available. That's not something that's overable. It is a confidential document. There were questions about school resource officers. We did address this earlier was it last year or was it earlier in this year? Both, both. We talked about the cost and what we would have to do in order to put school resource officers into our buildings. We talked about it with Chief Kiernan, and the only option we have is to go out with a public question to ask the taxpayers to fund that. The concern is if the taxpayers say no to that, we cannot use district funding to ever fund school resource officers. So it's a risky proposal to go out, because we did actually hear more from people who are not in favor of having officers in our school than those that were in favor of having officers in our schools. I don't have the cost off the top of my head, but I believe it was somewhere around $600,000 or more. What was it? Yeah, per year. And that is about our entire 2% budget. Our 2% budget increase is about 700,000, Mr. Cruz. So that would eat up all but $100,000 of what we can put into our budget every year. With regard to hallway monitors, it is accurate that we do monitor the halls at the middle school and the high school with duty periods. That is easy to do when you have teachers that have off periods. Elementary schools generally don't have hallway monitors, and bathroom monitors are not something we really can do, have put adults in bathrooms with kids. But the difficulty in staffing that is we cannot staff the special ed IEP-driven paraprofessionals that we need. We're going to an agency because we can't staff lunch aides. We can't staff paraprofessionals. So if we could find staff to do that, that's an option for us. It's almost impossible to staff the state required positions that we have. We talked about school safety team. Policy 5751, that is our sexual harassment policy. That is also refers to Title IX. I direct you to the Verona Public Schools website. Under our district, there is a page called Title IX and Sex Discrimination. On that, it talks about Dr. Miller, who is the Title IX coordinator. It gives the Title IX team, which consists of Dr. Miller, the investigators, in addition to Dr. Miller, Mrs. Ackerman, Director of School Counseling, Mrs. Palmarisi, Director of Athletics and Special Programs, Mrs. Julia Peter, District Humanities Supervisor, I am listed and have been trained as the decision maker for Title IX. We employ the law firm of Aperzese, McDermott, Master and Murphy, and the Bush Law Group to be appellate officers or appeal officers in Title IX. And we have an informal resolution process facilitator, Mr. Howard Freund, who is the principal of Landing School. So that information can be found, as well as the level of training that this team receives and receives annually. We were trained by Ellen Bass, who is a former retired judge in the state of New Jersey, who does extensive Title IX training. So to answer your question, yes, we know and understand the requirements of Title IX. And it's also the reporting form, yes. The reporting form is also on the website. You can see that as well. So you can see the team, the training information, when they receive their training, and any reporting forms. And I can't speak to specifically Title IX in this particular case because we are in active litigation. And I know you don't like when we say that, but that is facts.
And if I could just jump in, Superintendent, right now, the law is, we can only raise your school taxes 2%. That's all we could do. It looks very likely that in the future, we're going to be able to have the option to look to raise it more. And if that's the case, I'm going to be the first person advocating that we do that. I'm allowed to speak. I'm elected. I'm going to speak. Because I want us to have a lot of nice things and a lot of nice services for our kids. But there's a lot of wants, and there's only so much, and the cost of everything goes up each year. And that's all I want to say about that.
With regard to cameras, we have added 40 additional cameras this year. We have 20 more that are waiting to be installed, and we have in the budget additional cameras for next year. This is an initiative not linked to this litigation. This is an initiative linked to just improving our video surveillance in our schools, and that will continue. There's a definite budgeted money for, and I can't speak to exactly how much, and I don't know that Mr. Cruz is prepared to speak to how much right now, but
So there is also an upgrade to servers for this new school year. With that, I believe at the last meeting we talked about increasing the storage, and that's actually going to allow us to, with the installation of those servers, to provide a storage space of 90 days. So that's going to be a huge improvement going forward.
thank you. There was also a question at last meeting as to whether or not there is a 7-year requirement to store. I'm sorry. Surveillance, video surveillance, and I brought the records retention schedule with me tonight for school surveillance tapes. It is a 31-day requirement, just to clarify that. So I don't know about New York, but New Jersey's got a 31-day requirement. And what else do we have here? Safe return to school. Anytime a child returns to school after a home instruction or some kind of a bullying event, a suspension, anything, we have a reentry conference. And that generally has a counselor, school social worker, the building principal, and other relevant personnel, depending on whether they're returning from a medical or not. So that really is specific to the actual case that at hand. With regard to parents being able to view the angle of cameras, that is an absolute non-starter. And as a trained school safety specialist, we were trained no one should know the angle that our cameras are pointing, right? That's a huge security breach. So even the parents, giving that information out in the community could lead to a devastating event in our schools. So that would be a no. And you're welcome to check with Director Jeff Gale at the Office of Student Safety and Planning. And I'm sure he will back me up 100% on that one. I don't know. Was there something else I missed? Oh, yes, therapist, counselors. So I spoke with Mrs. Ackerman today, in advance of, someone had emailed me that question about whether or not we have counselors available for students. We do. They are shared like our other specialists. They go between the schools. If we have a need at, say, Brookdale and the counselor is at FN, or if we have a need at Forest and the counselor is at, Lanning, our schools are about 6 minutes apart. And they get in their car and they come back, or Mrs. Ackerman goes down, or we also, I'm not sure if the parents in this room know, we also have Care Plus New Jersey, which is a therapeutic group that works in our buildings, and they are also available to all of us students in our schools. So they are school social workers. We have interns that work with them. We do take interns with our other school counselors. The elementary school counselors in this district are not traditional school counselors. They are licensed social workers, and they're available for our students. But I will say that while they work with our students on a variety of issues, none of our students have come forward with a need on this particular issue at this time. The rest were statements. I don't really see any questions, and they were demands. Did I miss? Did I hit everything? Everything I can respond to, I've addressed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Giuseppe.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Our next scheduled public meeting will be held on Thursday, May 30th, beginning with confidential session at 6 PM and public session at 7 PM. Are we back in the Learning Commons? Okay, we will be back in the Verona High School Learning Commons. I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Boone, seconded by Mrs. Ferrara. All in favor? Aye. It is 8:32. Thank you for attending and have a great night.